You're listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. Today on the show, we're talking about the silliest things we can think of.
Happy 100! Happy 100!
Woo! 100!
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else is a program promoting secular humanism and scientific skepticism, produced by the Winnipeg Skeptics. You can email your questions, comments, or criticisms to us at LUEEpodcast@winnipegskeptics.com. Show notes, references, and relevant links can be found at lueepodcast.wordpress.com or at winnipegskeptics.com/blog.
My name is Jem Newman, and joining me to celebrate 100 episodes of Life, the Universe, and Everything Else, we have Laura Creek Newman.
Hi there.
Ashlyn Noble.
Hello.
Lauren Bailey.
Happy anniversary.
And Ian James.
It's really an all-star panel today.
So how's everyone doing?
Awesome.
Woo! Very good.
Did you burn out $400 worth of hard drives on the weekend too?
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, I did. Actually,
All of my
Jem.
terabytes are gone.
Oh, no.
How are you, Jem?
I'm as good as can be expected. But we're gonna have a fun show. We are
super
going
fun.
to start things off by talking about the most absurd pseudosciences and conspiracy theories we could think of. And then we're going to finish off the show with me getting to know our panelists a little bit better by subjecting them to a series of hard-hitting interview questions.
That we have not been prepared for.
Yes.
Or at least I didn't, so whatever happens to come my way, I'm just going to have to answer.
So we also have a few old friends joining us for that segment at the end that might be familiar to longtime listeners of Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. So without further ado, let's start the silliness with Ashlyn. Why don't you tell us about biodynamic agriculture?
Yeah, so this was the most hilarious thing I could find on the list of, I think it was Pseudosciences on Wikipedia, which is a fantastic list, by the way, if you ever want to go check it
we'll
out.
link to
It's
that.
great. So as far as I can tell, biodynamic agriculture is basically homeopathy for plants. So they're very big on sustainability and treating the farm as one big unit. So the animals and the soil and the crops, they're all one system that feeds back into itself, which I kind of get.
That's not bad.
That kind of works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there have been some indications that this kind of farming is more resilient to environmental change and more energy efficient. So those are good things.
Energy efficient how?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That's just a claim they make.
Okay.
the manure from the cows fertilizes the plants.
It's probably something like
and
that, yeah.
It's a whole life cycle of a subsistence farm.
You don't need to put all of the inputs in yourself before you get the outputs, some of the byproducts,
Yeah, and you don't need as much mechanization for things because the animals do some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The goats keep the lawn clipped.
Yeah.
And
Yay, goats! But where the woo comes in is these field preparations that people who use biodynamic agriculture are encouraged to use. The basic ones are numbered 501 to 508. These are the original ones that the founder of this kind of science came up with in his lectures in the 1800s, I believe.
I like that. It's kind of science.
It's kind of science, yeah. And actually, he was really big. The founder of this guy on...
He was a giant.
He was enormous, yeah.
Piltdown man has me.
He was a big fan of testing these hypotheses. I don't know how he tested them, because as you'll see, there's clearly no basis in any kind of logic here.
Kind of like homeopathic provings,
Exactly,
Like Hahnemann
yeah,
himself
yeah.
was very fond of testing things on a single person or a couple of people by writing stuff down, I guess.
Yeah, that might be it. I'm
Sounds
sorry, I'm just trying to
legit.
find the
Hubbard's experiments on his
year that it
clears.
was. Oh, it was 1928 when this kind of started, and there are just under 150 hectares of land that is cultivated in this way, and almost 50% of that is in Germany. So this is a big thing in Germany.
Oh, again, like homeopathy.
Like homeopathy, yeah. So anyway, these field preparations, this is the best part of this. The one that I like is crushed powdered quartz prepared by stuffing it into a horn of a cow and buried into the ground in spring and taken out in autumn. The mixture is sprayed under very low pressure over the crop during the wet season in an attempt to prevent fungal diseases. It should be sprayed on an overcast day or early in the morning to prevent burning of the leaves.
Wow.
Okay. So
Is it have to be on the
what
second
is it
Sunday
about
of the month?
Yeah. What is it about the quartz going into the cow's horn that then makes it amazing?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the criterion for Vogons doing anything at all in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Be buried in soft peat for 6 months and then unearthed, lost and found again.
It reminds me of, there was a medieval cure for warts about rubbing a frog on you at full moon while standing at a crossroads.
Yeah. So it's exactly like that.
It's like
pretty
moon letters in
scientific
Lord of the
thinking.
Rings, you know? The moon has to be the same moon as it was when that quartz was formed.
So let me read you another few of these, and that's really all I have to say. So let's get our...
This is absurd on its face. You
exactly,
don't even need to
I
bother
don't need
debunking
to
it.
explain anything. So these are compost preparations used for preparing compost that are then turned into the soil. Chamomile blossoms, stuffed into small intestines from cattle, buried in humus-rich earth in the autumn and retrieved in the spring. Oak bark, chopped into small pieces, placed inside the skull of a domesticated animal, surrounded by peat and buried in earth in a place where lots of rainwater runs past.
Does the domesticated animal have to be dead, or is it buried with stuff in its head?
It doesn't specify.
Any domesticated
Your
Any
animal?
domesticated
choice.
animal. A lot of these are cattle-based, which I guess is probably what they farm there. So this is the
Okay.
whole, like, animals and soil being the same system.
But you could use, say, a cat.
Yeah, sure.
Laura, I found a use for our cat.
I hate you.
I am taking your cat away from you.
So anyway, that's biodynamic agriculture. It is homeopathy for plants.
So we're going to move now to a related pseudoscience. Laura, why don't you tell us a little bit about pyramid power?
Well, pyramid power is something that I'd actually forgot about for a little while until I started thinking about this, and I said, oh yeah, that's a thing. How on earth is that a thing? And I'm going to get to how it's specifically related to Ashlyn's segment there. So, if anybody hasn't heard of pyramid power,
I have not.
You have not heard of pyramid power. Everybody else has heard of pyramid power in one form or
Yeah.
another.
Yeah,
Okay.
I saw it on the Mythbusters.
Yes. So it was popularized for a lot of people by the episode of Mythbusters where they tested some of the pyramid power claims. So, depending on which source you look at, there is a lot of claims made for the power of pyramids. They include, they produce negative ions, don't know how, but they do, which will help us heal and prevent the negative effects of things like air pollution. Yes, Ian.
May I?
Yes.
When you say pyramid, do you just mean a thing in the shape of a pyramid?
Yes.
A thing?
A thing.
So, like, popsicle sticks
Yes.
glued together in
Yeah.
a pyramid
Absolutely.
has the same power
the
as
shape of the pyramid is somehow amazing. And I was going to actually get to that.
Oh, I'm
wait,
sorry.
No,
Okay, I
they
jumped the
produce negative ions, but not the corresponding positive
Wait.
ions?
There's too
Wait.
many positive ions caused by pollution and whatnot. And so pyramids produce additional negative ions.
But where does the corresponding...
Jem, you're
Isn't-
asking too many questions.
But ionization...
Jem, you're asking too
Just
many
go
questions.
with it.
Pyramids
I just-
produce negative ions.
I just wanted to know up front if it was just...
Anything,
Okay.
it's pretty much anything in the shape of the pyramid.
Your
So-
hands steepled like that, Ian?
Is
Yep,
it-
that's
is it-
pyramid power.
Question.
Yes.
If it's an upside down pyramid, are they positive ions?
Oh, good question.
Whoa!
I know how this
too
works.
far.
That is-
That's
that is-
silly, Lauren. Come on.
This is a science show. Damn it. Anyway, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Laura.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying what the claims are. Another one that's really well known is that pyramids prevent decomposition.
No, I think that's mummification, actually. I think oh, the Egyptians just happened to...
Whoa. No. Because remember, we're just talking about pyramid shapes. So, yes, the claim is that a pyramid shape will cause things to dry out and mummify instead of rot. And, or... take perishable things of any kind and you put it under a pyramid. Now, keep in mind, these pyramids don't actually have to be solid structures. They can just be, like Ian said, like popsicle sticks made in the shape of a pyramid, and you are supposed to be able to put fruit or vegetables or milk or something like that under it, and it's supposed to last 2 to 3 times longer than average.
Are they filled with Freon?
Yeah,
It's
why aren't
pyramid
fridges
power,
shaped
man.
like
Pyramid power. Also, it's supposed to
Storage
help
space.
plants grow better.
I've seen that where people put the
pyramids,
hollow...
because plants grow better
Yeah,
and they
I've-
have more
that I've
nutrients,
seen,
apparently. Anyway, so that's another claim. That's a very common one. And they'll sell you like countertop pyramids to put your produce under instead of a fruit bowl or something.
My head hurts.
This one is my favorite because it doesn't go with any of the other claims. It's going to sharpen your razor blades.
Awesome.
So it's supposed to either sharpen your razor blades or keep them sharp. And that may or may not have something to do with aligning the razor blades north-south with the magnetic field.
Are there razor blade chakras?
There is a surprising number of references to chakras as you read through this information. So anyway,
It's not so
that's
surprising.
the thing. Well,
Are razor blades made of magnetic material?
Typically,
Not-
they're
I don't think
they're
they're ever
steel, right?
big-
So
well, I
I mean,
don't
it's an
think
alloy, so it's no longer really magnetic. I don't think.
anyway, so this is a claim. I'm just going through the claims here, guys. I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet.
Haven't got to the substance.
There's some things that just vaguely say, oh, it'll increase sexual feelings and urges. And then when you meditate under a pyramid, it will cause a heightened sense of awareness, a greater sense of well-being, relaxation, reduction of stress, etc.
It'll make for a much better stock photo.
Yes. And then there's many others. A lot of the claims are variations of other things. So these are just some of the things that pyramids can do for you. So pyramid power, the idea of this first really got popularized in Europe in the 1930s by Antoine Bovis, who was a dowser. He was a well-established dowser using a pendulum. And he had visited the Great Pyramids of Giza, and he thought, oh, the Egyptians must have been great dowsers because they made these amazing pyramids that are on these axes. And look at this cat that died here. It dried out. It didn't rot, but the air is always humid in a pyramid. Therefore, pyramid power causes magic things.
I would like to contest the claim that air in a pyramid is humid.
Yeah.
Is it really? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's probably cool. It's probably more humid than the air outside, but this is also the Sahara.
Yeah.
So I don't know how humid it can get. I don't know.
vary.
Maybe it can get humid in
It's
some
in the
places.
Nile.
But in any case, it's not a place known for its, dripping off your face humidity.
Yeah, and if it is indeed humid inside a pyramid, I think that is hardly a result of the pyramid.
No,
more a
no.
result of it being
Right.
a cool,
I wasn't
sheltered
suggesting
place.
that.
Yes.
So, after Antoine Bovis made this discovery and started popularizing it, this theory was then popularized in North America in the 70s by some paranormal authors, and then also in the 30s to 40s and then into the 70s as well, it was further popularized by Karl Drabel from Czechoslovakia, and he was really the main proponent of the razor blade theory thing. God.
It's kind of a good
So-
name for a band.
The
Razor
Razor
Blade
Blade
Theory. Jim, you want to join my band, Razor Blade?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, so how is this supposed to work? Well, as I mentioned, some of the claims are that pyramids produce negative ions. Some people will say that the 5 angles of the pyramid will focus beams of radiation to the middle and then out the top, and this somehow gives it magic powers.
Oh wait, so this only works on those stupid
It's
square
four-sided.
pyramids?
Yeah.
What? Not.
It's like square-based pyramids. It's not
No
triangular-based
but triangular pyramids are the best pyramids.
No, you are categorically
what measure?
wrong.
By the measure of symmetry,
Grayskull.
the most important measure of all.
Okay, so it may or may not focus a beam of radiation. Also,
I think that's generous. Maybe the jury's still out.
pyramids also are supposedly attracting and concentrating cosmic particles like tachyons and other things.
Tachyons interact with nothing that is not pyramid shaped. That's why they're so hard to detect.
You could just put some pyramids into the LHC, right?
Yeah. So
Sorry, Laura.
no, it's okay. This is why I chose this one because it's hilarious. Also, pyramids will somehow shield to certain energies, so they will shield out negative energies. No examples given. and encourage positive energies within the pyramid. Again, no examples given of either positive or negative energies.
But wait, what do you mean energies?
I don't know. That's what the sources said.
Energy is the capacity of a system
Jem?
to accomplish work.
I don't know.
Not the real thing.
The fake energy
energy.
thing. Okay, right.
Yes.
Okay, right. Sorry.
Yes.
Not physics
So-
energy.
No.
Those are the best proposed ideas of how they work. The actual original popularizers really didn't have any mechanism of how this would work. They just said, oh, pyramids must be awesome and magical. So, of course, some of the problems with pyramid power, well, we've already discussed a lot of them. Other problems include conflicting ideas of what the pyramid should be made of. Some sources say that they shouldn't be made of metals. Other sources say that they can be made of certain metals. Usually, though, they all agree that it shouldn't be made of any ferromagnetic metals because something about the ferrous ions reorienting to magnetic north, and that would make the pyramid lose its power.
But see, couldn't you also make the exact same claim and say that that's what gives it its power?
So, yes, some sources say that the pyramids must be aligned with magnetic north. Others say it must be aligned with true north. And some sources will say that while being inside a pyramid can be good for plant growth and for humans, you can actually overdose on the energy. It can become too much. So you shouldn't spend all of your time in a pyramid, and some plants may wilt within the pyramid.
So you should back off to a 3-sided pyramid if you get too much.
There you go, Jem.
It's a starter pyramid. Tiny
Okay,
house.
so if it doesn't work, it's too much pyramid.
So how does this relate to biodynamic farming? Well, did you guys know that we have a 8% scale pyramid here in Canada of the Giza pyramid, the Great One?
I did not know that.
No,
It's in Kelowna.
not surprised.
It's a winery. So they believe in pyramid power, and I'm not going to say the name, but I'm sure you can figure out who it is. And they believe that they've been doing tests for 17 years since they own the winery, and they've been aging wine within the pyramid and outside of it. And the taste tests that happen at 2 o'clock every day, people always say that the pyramid aged wine tastes better and is fuller and whatever it is that makes wine good.
I assume that these
The
are
alcohol.
double-blinded controlled trials.
Sure.
No. So yes, and of course they have their pyramid built to scale aligned. It is the most perfectly aligned pyramid outside of the original Great Pyramid in Giza, apparently.
Aligned to what?
I don't know. They
Okay.
don't say. I couldn't figure that out.
ley lines.
Okay.
There you go. And this lovely winery practices biodynamic agriculture, and they even list the field preparations that they practice, including
Ooh.
500 through 508.
Yay!
So this winery gives you not only pyramid power but biodynamics. So if ever
quartz
you're
buried in cow parts. Awesome.
yes, something like that. On their website, it even says crushed powdered quartz is stuffed into a cow horn.
They think this sounds plausible.
Oh, they fully buy in.
Holy crap.
So, hey, if you're ever in the interior of BC, or the Okanagan Valley, maybe you want to check that out for fun.
I do have cow horns and quartz at home. We can do an experiment.
Excellent.
No thanks.
Experiment? That's not what these people are looking for.
These people must be so different from me, is what I think when I see stuff like that. Like, how does these things connect in your brain to make something that makes sense?
There's some people.
Agreed.
There's some people on my Facebook that I should probably exercise from my Facebook.
Namine Patre di File and Spiritus Sancti.
That they do post the odd like, oh, I got a new crystal today. It makes me feel so tranquil. And the moon is in the second house of Jupiter. That must mean that blah blah blah. And I just and Jupiter aligns with Mars. I love that song. Anyway, and as a skeptic, or I'd like to think I am one, I have to like literally close the computer to stop myself from just being like, what? How can you think such things?
Just sick Ashlyn on them.
But then there comes that point where, as I'm sure we've all come to, where you just sort of say, do you, boo? If that's what you want to believe and it makes you happy, as long as you keep it out of my face and not my Facebook. Because I haven't gotten rid of these people yet. They are still on my Facebook. But as long as you don't bring it to my house, I think we can be cordial.
Yeah, Mom.
But man, you just want to shake these people and be like, no, stones from the ground does not give you magic powers. I don't really care one way or the other, but I'd love to have a conversation with them and just be like, you know what? But you also don't want to crush their, like, that's the thing I'm sort of afraid of, is not that I'm the most, dynamic debater on the planet and I could really actually convince anyone, but if a small part of them is really latching on to this idea of, things buried in the earth to make them feel better and pyramids and things, that's what really makes them happy. And if you crush that, and then all of a sudden they're just a husk of what they used to be.
Then you put them into a cow horn and bury them in some
Yeah, like what you know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to like completely just destroy their whole vision of their life, but
well, the vision of my life that I have is based around the idea that Paul McCartney actually died in a car crash.
Whoa.
A few decades ago. Ian, you're not going to crush my reason for living, are you?
Yep, man. Well, thank you, Jem. So when Jem said that we should all pick a subject to talk about, I actually had no idea what to speak on. Jem actually gave me the idea of the Paul McCartney is dead conspiracy, which I said absolutely, because I have to do zero research for it, because I already know it all. I won't get into the whole, because I mean, there's years and years of backstory, and I think pretty much everyone knows what Paul is dead conspiracy is. However, I will very briefly gloss it over. Supposedly, Paul McCartney died, as Jem said, in a car crash, and to keep the Beatles going, they concocted this plan to get a look-alike to fill his role so that obviously the whole world wouldn't crumble knowing that a Beatle had died.
Well, it was 1966. What are you going to do?
Yeah, so strangely, they decided to give clues to the audience that he was dead, so that if you figured it out, then it would still destroy the Earth.
Or is it like you win something?
I have no idea, but supposedly...
You win a relic from the McCartney reliquary?
Yes.
So, you can be on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's.
Supposedly for the next several albums, they gave clues that he had died, although they then sort of like... Well, I guess there is some stuff on Abbey Road that apparently they... Especially in the artwork that says that that's...
Well, he was walking backwards. He was carrying a cigarette in the wrong hand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to... We could talk for an hour as to all the clues that people have come up with as to why they think Paul is dead. Like, for example, in the famous Abbey Road picture, he's the only one walking barefoot. And there is supposedly some cultures around the world that bury their dead barefoot.
Like Liverpudlians?
Or, yeah, I guess so.
And the 28 if.
Word.
The 28 if. So, yes, in that same famous picture of them walking across the street, there's a car in the background that has a license plate that says 28 if, meaning if he had lived, he would have been 28. And I mean, it goes on and on and on, and I won't get into all the specifics. I will say two things, though. One, I saw whomever it was when he toured in Winnipeg last year, 2 years ago, whether it was Paul McCartney or not. And if Paul McCartney, the man, did actually die, the person that they got to replace him is amazing. So how they lucked out on getting two brilliant performers to join their, and then, to look like him and dress like him and act like him, but damn, is that guy ever talented, whomever he may be.
But he's got the hair lip, and that's why he grew the mustache.
Ah, of course, yes. But that is one talented son of a... I don't know if whoever's listening to this, if they saw Paul McCartney when he was on tour last year, 2 years ago, that was an incredible show. Probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my life. So whomever that man is, he deserves my money. And secondly and lastly, there is a documentary that was on Netflix, I don't believe it's on there anymore, called Paul McCartney Really Is Dead, The Last Testament of George Harrison.
It's amazing.
I watched it, and basically it weaves together all the clues that the fans had supposedly come up with, from the backwards talking on the records to the imagery on the album art and blah 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 blah. And they sort of they kind of wove together this tale of how it happened and in what order and all this. And in no time during the documentary did they say, like I was expecting at the end, because it's, first of all, it's a steaming pile of horse. It's one of the most offensive things I've ever seen as a Beatles fan. And then I was hoping at the end the director, whose name is Joel Gilbert, would come on and be like, okay folks, I hope you enjoyed this movie. It is not true. We fabricated the movie entirely altogether, but we just wanted to do this to show you how facts can sometimes seem related and how you can sometimes get a through line with a bunch of facts. So think critically, don't believe everything you hear. Thank you and good night.
Yeah.
And that
read that
message
story.
did not happen.
Oh, man.
But on IMDb, it does say that it is a mockumentary. So I don't know if maybe the director came out afterwards and said, yes, I just made it all up, or... Okay, because there's one important thing about this documentary that I did not mention. He claims in this documentary that on George Harrison's deathbed, he recorded himself confessing that the Beatles did indeed fabricate this entire thing and Paul McCartney really is dead. And he recorded himself into like a dictaphone or whatever. And I might add that despite the fact that he was supposedly in a hospital, the recording quality is excellent. Studio quality recording. And his accent is not even close to the accent that George Harrison has, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway,
He was dying. Your voice changes.
Right, yeah. You become more American when you die. And so supposedly these recordings were dropped off at the office of a journalist or whomever it was, and then George Harrison died, so he left these tapes for everyone to discover to that finally they admitted that Paul McCartney is really dead. So that premise is so offensive to me that
It's like the fact that Darwin had a deathbed conversion to Catholicism or whatever.
yeah,
right?
like, here's a CD that he recorded. Like, no, so the claims that they make in this documentary are, I mean, and it even goes into, like, past the Beatles period to when, Linda McCartney passed away and things of that nature, and his new wife with the no leg and all this. It's
Heather Mills.
yes, thank you. The point of this whole thing is that the conspiracy, I don't think, is as really popular now. I don't think anybody really truly believes it, like some of the other ones that we've talked about, that people do clearly believe that if you bury some in the ground for a while, it'll whatever it does. But there was a time there where fans were clamoring until, I would say, last 20 years or so probably, that they thought that Paul McCartney was really dead. And that just is stupid.
Well, I think Wings put paid to it because nobody but a musical genius could have written Maybe I'm Amazed.
We could talk on for millions of years about why you would do that as a successful business enterprise like the Beatles. So you concoct this whole thing, but yet you then try to poke holes in it. Like let's see if they figure it out. Well, let's just do this and see what happens.
LSD.
Anyway, if you get a chance to watch the documentary, Beatles fan or not, I would recommend it because it will make you angrier than anything else.
It took me
a really bad recommendation.
It took me 2 sittings to get through it. I had to stop halfway through and do something educational.
We should
and go back
watch
to it the next day.
I did some math for a while.
We watched that electromagnetic movie.
Yeah, Resonance.
Beings of Frequency. Yes, we should watch this. Paul McCartney's really dead. It just makes you want to vomit. That is all.
It does sound like a very offensive documentary, but is it like Nazi level offensive?
Well, I don't know.
I was thinking that maybe Lauren might tell us a little bit about Nazis and how...
I'm not going to talk about Nazis, Jem. I'm going to talk about Nazis on the moon.
Whoa, space Nazis!
Space
Oh my
Nazis.
god!
We're
Space
Nazis
Nazis
on the moon.
That was
We
running through
sing
my
a
head
Nazi
all day.
tune.
My God, that was in my head all day.
What is that movie called? Iron Sky?
Iron Sky.
Iron Sky,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we can blame this on Heinlein.
You can blame a lot of things on Heinlein.
The only thing good that Heinlein ever did was write a pro-war propaganda piece that turned into an anti-war Paul Verhoeven movie that I
Oh
love.
God, that movie is so good and that book is so
bad.
I did like The Moon is a Harsh
belong
Mistress,
together.
No! All right, Space Nazis, which is actually the Wikipedia title. After World War II, rumors circulated that German astronauts had traveled to the moon and established a top-secret facility there. Some speculated that Adolf Hitler faked his own death, fled the planet, and lived out the rest of his days in an underground lunar hideout.
What?
There's a whole bunch on it, but this is pretty much the gist of it. And Heinlein wrote a science fiction novel called Rocket Ship Galileo in his, Stories for Boys that he was writing in the late 40s that talked about these kids going up, their special rocket went up to the moon and they found these Nazis and they kicked some Nazi ass on the moon. So, yep. That's pretty much the entire conspiracy.
And so, is this a thing that people still believe?
Well, it's not really big anymore, but that Iron
yeah.
Sky came out just a couple years ago, and I hadn't heard of it until I was doing the research for this.
Yeah, Jem showed me the trailer, and I didn't know anything about
That was the
this,
trailer
and
for
then-
the
right.
sequel that's
Yeah.
coming out
And I'm just like, what?
with lizard people.
What
Yeah.
is this?
There's
What
lizard
is this
people in it?
thing?
In the
In
sequel.
the sequel,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're Nazi lizard people in the Hollow
Clearly.
Earth.
How did they get to the moon?
This special Nazi rocket ship program that was happening, in the 30s and going all the way through. The war
Didn't
was a
you
cover
see
for it.
Captain America: The First Avenger? They had access to all sorts of.
They had mad technology.
Yeah.
The Reich was the cover for the Nazi space
Okay.
explorations.
And so after they went
Interesting.
up and Hitler saved himself on the moon,
Yeah, they had a moon
there
base.
was no evidence of a rocket program here.
It was on the dark side of the moon.
No, but
Like
like
the
you
far
need like
side of the moon. The far side of the moon, not the dark side. Every side is the dark side.
you need like launch pads and stuff like that.
They bombed Dresden, Laura. Never forget.
Okay.
Wait, didn't we bomb Dresden?
That's who I meant by they.
Oh, okay.
Whoa! What side are you on here? There are some new facts coming to light around this table. No, I'm just joking.
Strictly pro allies.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so they sent a rocket up to space.
Several.
Several of them.
They built a
There
moon
is
base.
no launch pads left.
Nope.
At
It
all.
hit the moon right in the eye.
Yep.
From what I understand.
That was a different
Okay,
movie.
and
It was a
they
great movie, yeah.
so they spent World War II building a lunar base and had a giant war on Earth to distract us. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
That's kind of it, yeah.
okay. And then
But
some
Hitler
little...
then ascended to this lunar base.
Yeah,
right?
because
That's
he
the-
couldn't
Just like-
find his hollow earth theory here, so he went up to the moon.
They won the space race before it started.
Yep, pretty much.
Awesome. Anyway, let's carry on to a different subject, shall we?
Yeah.
Yay!
Because that's
This one's
totally
getting a
what it
little
is. It was Nazis on the moon.
thing that
And-
happened.
According to some, they're still there.
According
So
to
does
some,
the- so-
according to some Wikipedia
Like
articles.
the same Nazis, or have they just
No.
started breeding and they're like they have a new like lunar Nazi race going on
Yeah,
there?
there's
okay.
another Reich
Oh.
on the moon,
I see.
and when the time is right, they will come to us.
there today.
Lauren, oh my God. I
If
know you can't help it.
If I can't make puns about space Nazis,
No, I know.
Ashlyn, any thoughts on space Nazis?
They must have died out pretty quickly. They couldn't have brought that many supplies.
The moon is made of cheese, Ashlyn.
That's all I got.
Well observed, though.
Yeah,
Well observed.
I don't know, like
might bring some science into it.
Exactly.
I've read The Martian. You know, they could have had a go at it. Come on.
Oh
I'm really looking forward to the movie
no!
because I have not been disappointed enough in the films of Ridley Scott lately. So I'm going to talk about maybe it's not as ridiculous as space Nazis, but skeptics are no strangers to unusual chronologies. Most of us are aware of the many young Earth creationists who adhere to James Ussher's notion that the entire universe is just shy of 6,020 years old. Fewer, maybe, are familiar with Anatoly Fomenko's New Chronology, which contends that virtually all of recorded history took place in the last 1,000 years,
What?
including, like, the ancient Greeks, and That all happened in the last 1,000 years, according to Fomenko. But we're not talking about Fomenko. Nestled just between these two bits of pseudo-history, we have the phantom time hypothesis. A delightfully absurd conspiracy theory that was the brainchild of Heribert Illig and the late Hans Ulrich Niemitz. So the claim is that the dating system we use is even more arbitrary than we've been given to believe, and that 297 years of history during Europe's Dark Ages actually didn't happen at all. You may think that you live in the glorious 21st century, but according to Illig and Niemitz, it is actually the year 1718, and everything between the years 614 CE and 911 CE is phantom time. It didn't actually happen. So, why did Illig and Niemitz believe this? Well, evidently, they noticed that during these so-called Dark Ages, not much happened, you know.
Yeah, geez.
To quote Cecil Adams at the Straight Dope, Rome collapses, passing mention is made of the rise of Islam, and the next thing you know, it's the Battle of Hastings and the Norman Conquest. It's easy to imagine. Well, maybe not easy, but possible to imagine that historians inadvertently inserted 3 blank centuries into our collective datebook. So, who inserted this phantom time, and why? Well, Illig provides several hypotheses, each of them fairly scant on specifics. The most detailed accounting he provides goes something like this. The Holy Roman Emperor, Otto II, a devotee of Christian millennialism, really wants to reign around the year 1000. You know, millennialism. The only problem is that he would have to live to the ripe old age of 342 in order to do it. Life expectancy being what it was, even for an emperor, he conspired with Gerbert of Aurillac, who would later become Pope Sylvester II, to invent a new chronology that would place the new year 1000 Anno Domini within their grasp. The details get a little fuzzy here. Illig suggests that perhaps there was no existing dating system in use at the time. I guess they'd never heard of the Julian calendar. And the conspirators didn't actually realize until afterward, maybe, that they would have to invent 300 years of additional history to fill up the gaps in their timeline. But that's what they had to do, inventing the great conqueror Charlemagne in the process. But for some reason, they put the year 1000 a few decades into the future, I guess, and regrettably, Emperor Otto II died in Anno Domini 983, more than 16 years short of his coveted year 1000. So, ironclad case, right? Totally believable on its face.
Should I answer you as a historian or as a podcast member?
So, maybe we could use a little evidence to back up this speculation?
What about all the cool manuscripts that I've read from that time period?
Let me lay it out for you, Ashlyn. So the primary evidence for this phantom time actually comes in the form of the absence of evidence against the phantom time hypothesis. You know, as good skeptics, we know that you can't prove it didn't happen that way is totally a convincing argument. Name that logical fallacy, anyone?
The gem fallacy.
It's the argument from ignorance.
I tried to go for the brownie points answer, not the actual answer.
Anyway, Illig was apparently struck by the fact that there isn't that much in the way of archaeological evidence from the period of 614 to 911 CE, at least in Western Europe. And he was annoyed, I guess.
The only part of the world that
Point
counts.
in favor.
He was annoyed, I guess, by the fact that historians were relying so heavily on written sources, which aren't always as reliable. A second piece of evidence that gets cited is the fact that the architecture of 10th century Western Europe was pretty similar to that of, like, the Roman era, which is apparently evidence that the Roman Empire wasn't actually as long dead as people thought it was, or something.
Because people have never done things in the style of other things before.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
But the pièce de résistance has to be the adoption of the Gregorian calendar in 1582. So, bear with me, there's some basic math here. When this calendar was adopted, the date actually had to be shifted by 10 days to account for chronological drift, because the old Julian calendar didn't properly account for leap years, at least not as well as the new calendar did. Under the old calendar, which used a simple 1 leap year in every 4 calculation, a drift of 10 days would take about 1,257 years to happen. But that means that Pope Gregory didn't make the right adjustment, because he should have adjusted it by 13 days. The Julian calendar was adopted in 45 BC, and if you just subtract 1257 from 1582, you get 325. So that's not enough of an adjustment, right?
No.
So maybe you're thinking that Pope Gregory just made a mistake. No need to make it the basis of an absurd conspiracy theory,
Popes
right?
can't make mistakes.
Popes are infallible.
But it's not so, because 10 days is actually exactly right. They weren't actually trying to realign the calendar with the calendar used by Julius Caesar. What they were trying to do is realign it with the guidelines for calculating the date of Easter, which were established at the First Council of Nicaea. Anyone want to guess when the First Council of Nicaea took place? It was 325 AD, which is exactly when the leap year calculation would get us to. And we haven't even addressed the elephant of the room, which I know Lauren is shaking trying to get through. What about all of the things that actually happened during that time? You know, the rise of Islam, Charlemagne uniting Western Europe and forming the Holy Roman Empire, several wars between the Byzantine and Bulgarian empires, the settlement of Iceland by the Norse, and presumably the invention of Vina Tarta, which is delicious.
Yes.
The technological and cultural innovations of China's Tang dynasty, which included the invention of gunpowder and the creation of the first known woodblock printed book. Well, those things apparently didn't happen at all, or maybe happened at some other time. See, the thing is, there's actually a lot of evidence that the phantom time hypothesis is wrong. It goes without saying that this is a pretty Eurocentric theory.
No kidding.
And Europe, strangely enough, is not a closed system.
What?
When you correlate events found in the phantom time period with events outside of Europe, like astronomical events such as eclipses and comet sightings, or conflicts between major powers such as the wars between Byzantium and the Muslim world, and dating methods such as dendrochronology, the Gregorian calendar holds up just fine. There's no sign of this phantom time. If Illig and Niemitz had bothered to check their pseudo-historical nonsense against the historical records of civilizations in Asia or the Middle East, for example, it might have saved them some considerable embarrassment. But they wouldn't have got so many books out, so...
They should have asked me. I have some actual artifacts.
You're part of the conspiracy, Lauren.
That's it. My bow roaches are part of the conspiracy. That's it.
How much did they pay you?
Not enough.
Okay, so what we've got now is I'm going to get to the bottom of who exactly these podcasters you've all been listening to for so long are, and what they really feel about skepticism and science and Star Trek and Truth or Dare.
I love Truth or Dare.
One of us is actually not a skeptic. Let's see if we can guess who.
One of these things is not like the others.
So joining us for this segment, we have our friends and past co-hosts of Life, the Universe, and Everything Else, Leslie Saunders, Greg Christensen, and Mark Forkheim. So I've got some questions for them, and I also have some interesting questions for the panelists we have live with us tonight. So my first question is for Leslie, and I want to know, Leslie, which Mythbuster would you rather play Truth or Dare with?
Hi there, my name's Leslie Saunders. I'm a past host, and I want to thank Jem for inviting me back to celebrate Life, the Universe, and Everything Else's 100th episode. The Mythbuster that I would love to play Truth or Dare with is Carrie. She had these crazy welding skills, which I have a lot of admiration for. I can weld a bit, but she could do it so well. I'm such a fan. If it were any member of the cast, I'd be pretty happy, though. I'd probably just ask the same typical kind of questions. If it were truth, if you could see one day into the future, what would you do? If you were president, what would your first 100 days in office look like?
Really? That's a typical question?
If you were on your way out, what legislation would you like to sneak through? And for a dare, would you like to be on our podcast?
So the second question that I have for Leslie is, if you could close the Kentucky Creation Museum permanently, but you had to replace it with a museum dedicated to another pseudoscience, what would you choose?
If I could close down the Kentucky Creation Museum permanently, I would in a heartbeat. If I had to replace it with another museum dedicated to pseudoscience, my first thought would be to herbology. I find it fascinating what different cultures used to or currently use to treat different conditions. And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how many all-natural ingredients Big Pharma uses in medication, or how everyday plants are being studied by scientists for their healing properties. But I would be wrong, and I completely missed the point of the question, because that would be actual science, not pseudoscience. So I think I would replace it with a museum dedicated to trepanning. And if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. I had to Google the term to find out what it's even called. But it's basically when people used to drill holes in their skulls so they could let evil demons out, and that would cure them. And I would pick this because it's so ridiculous, and it's such low-hanging fruit. It would make a great talking point when I'm arguing with other people who believe in things that I think are silly, like homeopathy, crystal healing, or the other kind of pseudosciences that a lot of people do believe in. So when somebody who believes in homeopathy is asked for proof and they say, well, it worked for me, like you hear so often, You can say something like, well, enough people think that drilling a hole in their skull made them better that there's actually a museum dedicated to it, and I'd win the argument.
Wow. Well put.
So the last question that I had for Leslie, what sci-fi or fantasy universe would you most like to live in?
The sci-fi or fantasy universe I would want to live in hinges on 3 things. First, I would want faster-than-light travel, or access to different species. As much as I love Firefly or 2001, not much would probably change for me in that kind of world. Also, I'm kind of a jack-of-all-trades working with my hands person, so if I lived in a Lord of the Rings universe, I feel like I would still end up being a farmer. Just a farmer who got to see a better fireworks display every so often. And the third thing is I'd like a bit of magic. Not Harry Potter level magic, but a universe where different species have different abilities and things that are impossible in our reality may not be in theirs. So based on all that, I pick Farscape. I think I do very well in the Farscape universe.
Nice.
A good choice.
So for Greg, what I asked him was, would you be willing to use a transporter on Star Trek, despite the fact that it almost certainly would kill you and make a new copy elsewhere?
Absolutely. By the 24th century, it's proven technology. I probably see people transporting every day, going to lunch in Paris, from North America, transporting from ship to ship to Earth, all sorts of crazy stuff. So it would probably be just another everyday thing. In the early days of transporting, though, when you have things like transporter psychosis and disappearing people and so forth, I'd probably be a little leery of it.
What about when transporters turn you into children?
Yeah. Oh man, that was a terrible episode.
It was, but once you get over the initial, okay, you're really grasping for straws here, boys. It's kind of like, he's my number one dad. I love that line. It's so shitty. It's just so good, though. They won't let us play with the computer and the... Whatever, that kid. Anyway, sorry.
So the second question I had for Greg was, which pseudoscientific idea do you really wish were true?
I'd have to say half the stuff... I'll give 2 answers to this one. Half the stuff Dr. Oz says, like if health and weight loss and magic miracle cures and diets were actually true, that would be super cool. Number 2 would be superpowers, like X-Men style stuff, or maybe heroes off of the TV show.
That's a good answer.
And the final question that I had for Greg was, if CBS Paramount announced a brand new Star Trek series, who should play the captain?
It's very important to know.
I don't really have any specific actor in mind.
Nathan Fillion.
I would prefer to leave that up to casting directors.
Good answer.
When you look at really, really great shows that are happening on TV, like right now, for example, like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, all those are all people I've never heard of. So I'd like a casting director to, and a production crew with a solid vision to give me a brand new, fresh face and wow me as a captain. So yeah, I wouldn't really say it has to be any specific actor that I'm rather fond of.
I'd say Jem Newman, who's turning blood and ashes.
We don't need to promote that show so hard now that it's over.
Except for the DVD release. And
So for Mark, the first question I had was, if you had to be killed by a supernatural creature or force, what would you choose?
Mark Forkheim here. First, I'd like to say congratulations on 100 episodes. As a former host and participant, I've been asked to answer 9 questions. Sort of disappointed it wasn't 42 questions, but gotta leave some talking time for other people, I guess. If you had to be killed by a supernatural creature or force, what would you choose? That actually stumped me for a bit, because so many of the supernatural creatures out there in legend, they kill you using quite natural forces. Zeus sending his lightning bolts. Well, Zeus might be supernatural, but lightning is quite natural and it kills people all the time. The Incredible Hulk might be a bit on the supernatural side. Where does his extra mass come from whenever he converts? but in the end, he kills you by smashing you with his fists. And that's quite natural. I finally came up with being blinked out of existence by Q, or just being disintegrated by Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen. You know, something quick and painless. That's the key to it. Quick and painless.
Mark is always a pragmatist.
I don't want a pain.
The second question I have for him is, what is your favorite cryptozoological creature?
That would be Bigfoot. Why? Because living in Winnipeg, we're apparently at the edge of his territory, and it would be very easy to go out and explore for him. I could go online and get funds donated from a bunch of gullible people to pay for my summer camping trip. I mean, get a bunch of respectable people to help pay for my research trip into the woods. And if that was successful, I could possibly do the same thing for a research trip down to Cancun, Mexico to search for the chupacabra. But it's just the nearness of it that makes it so attractive. I'd have all the equipment. I still have a 1 megapixel camera. Get a little Vaseline for the center of the lens. Have my evidence in no time flat.
Very clever.
And the last question is, would you rather live in a world in which aliens exist, but no one believes in them, or a world where aliens don't exist, but everybody believes in them?
The hell kind of question is that?
A gem question.
Whoa.
Well, I think I'd rather live in world number 1. I mean, it's bad enough we have people believing in Christ, but believing in aliens too? Good
Man,
grief.
right for the throat.
No, but seriously, we practically do live in world number 1 anyways, because I'm very certain that there is alien life forms on other planets, and there's a large number of people that believe that alien life forms exist. So we're probably 3/4 of the way to world number 1. But if you're talking about aliens that actually come to this planet, I'd have to say that hasn't happened yet. Here's hoping to see another 100 episodes.
Thanks, Mark. And thanks, Leslie and Greg. Okay, so I have questions for all of you. So I'm going to start with Ashlyn, I think.
Woo.
And maybe I'll go around the table. I don't know what order we'll do these in.
I'm terrified.
So-
I like having lead time, and I got none.
You'll have lead time on the rest of them, maybe. But not the first 3. So,
encouraging.
Ashlyn, if an evil genie forced you to devote your life to promoting a conspiracy theory, which conspiracy theory would you choose?
Do I have to promote it well?
Yep, you have to dedicate your life to it.
This genie is a real asshole.
Yeah.
What would you do for evil genie?
Yeah, I got it. Because now I can only think of the conspiracy theories that we've talked about today. I think I would do the moon hoax one, because there's actually a lot of fun and weird angles that you can go on that. Like, a lot of the conspiracy theories only have, like, the 2 pieces of evidence that they're interested in, right?
Right.
But the moon hoax one has a lot of different things that once you get shot down, you can just move on. And then once you've gone through all of the evidence, you can just start again.
Good answer.
So I would dedicate my life to the moon hoax theory. Woo.
Let me ask you then, what scientific advance do you wish had been made 200 years earlier?
Germ theory of disease.
Yeah. Definitely a good answer.
Absolutely, yeah. If we had figured out the germ theory of disease 200 years ago, we would probably have, I don't want to say the cure for cancer, but we would probably have a lot less disease now.
Yeah, that's true. A lot more people, too.
Yeah, that's not as good, but, you know. I've always thought that if I was going to be a time traveler and go back in time, the germ theory of disease is like the thing that I could bring, because I don't know how to make a transistor. I don't know how to make electricity from nothing. So I couldn't, like, introduce the internet. But I could totally tell them that you need to wash your hands.
Yeah.
Just bring some penicillin.
Oh, nobody believed Semmelweis, though.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and I'd be a woman a few hundred years ago, and that would also be difficult, but that is something that I could actually do if I was a time traveler.
And finally, if you had to have either Deepak Chopra or Ray Comfort as your wacky next-door neighbor who's always popping in, which would you choose?
Jeez. What a...
I would choose Deepak Chopra because I think he's less moralizing. Ray Comfort would probably have a problem with my relationship. And so him popping in would be more awkward than Deepak Chopra, who'd be like, you guys need to align your chakras better.
Don't we already live next?
Yeah, we kind of have a Ray Comfort next
Yeah.
door already. But he doesn't pop over, so that's all right.
But Ray Comfort has the banana gag.
Yep. And I don't want
on.
that in my house.
So I'll move on to Lauren.
Uh-oh.
I'll start you off with a softball question. Would you rather live in a world where the Norse gods were real, or where the Abrahamic god is real?
Norse gods.
And why?
More fun.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yes.
That is a soft.
I said it was
She
a
plays
softball.
8th century Norse every weekend.
Okay, I'll maybe make this a little bit harder. What conspiracy theory would make for the best interpretive dance?
That's awesome.
Well, we already have the theme song for Nazis on the Moon.
Yes.
Best interpretive dance.
Yeah, I can just see those high kicks.
So can I. Oh my god.
What about the grassy knoll one? Because you could do all the triangulation crap.
And you could have a lady, the
babushka
babushka
lady.
lady. Yeah. She could just do a walk on and kind of look at the audience and walk away
Yeah.
with her camera.
I don't know. Oh, yeah. The birth and death of Christ, and I would set it to Jesus Christ Superstar.
Nice. Jesus Christ Superstar 2, the christening.
Jesus.
Christening?
Christening would be the word there. Huh?
Yeah, because that's the word, and that's what it means.
But the christening is more badass somehow.
If you had to spend an hour of each day either watching men's rights videos on YouTube or reading Ken Ham's Creation Museum blog, which would you choose?
The Creation Museum blog.
Yeah, me too.
It'd be good for a laugh. If
Yeah,
nothing else.
I can just laugh and say, "Oh, honey," and you're not trying to actually purposely hurt anyone with this.
Okay, so Ian, if you had to write a rock opera about one pseudoscientific idea, what would it be?
Pseudoscience and not conspiracy?
Yeah, you can do a conspiracy if you'd prefer.
Well, I think I'll answer both. I'll say the lizard people for sure. That'd be an interesting rock opera, I feel. Because imagine like all the like cameos of celebrities that you could have on Broadway that come in who may or may not be a lizard person.
Yeah.
And fantastic costume opportunities there as well.
Right? And pseudoscience, I'd say probably homeopathy.
Yeah.
I think that story would be very interesting to write, and it'd have lots of ups and downs, and
Here's
grandma's
the story.
dying, and
Drop
here's
of
the
water.
yeah. I think yeah. I'd go with homeopathy and the lizard people. In the same musical.
Set to interpretive dance.
I'm gonna write this down.
Hey,
Next year's
Next year's
Fringe.
Next year's Fringe. Yes.
you in? We'll do this.
Okay. So Ian, in a fight between Worf, son of Moog,
Worf.
and a tag team made up of Bret Hart and Ric Flair, who would win?
Oh. How dare you ask me this question?
Bet on the Batla. Bet on the Batla.
That is the in a what? A fight to the death?
Yep.
Worf. Worf would still win.
Even if he can't use a Batleth or a Mechleth or any of the other lefts that he has hidden around his body.
Well, if it's to the death, Worf has actually killed people. So he's not moralistically against it. He'll just kill your ass if you're not looking. Now, also, Bret Hart now and Ric Flair now, because they're both like...
In their
Bret Hart's
prime.
In their prime. Okay. Yeah,
It's a good
sorry.
distinction.
I'm sorry, Worf.
Still gotta be
What,
Worf.
I mean, how can...
Yeah.
how can you get... Yeah, there's no, unfortunately, there's no contest. I'd like to see it, though.
So, if you had to choose between writing the music for a new Cosmos series or professionally for the WWE, which would you choose?
Wow. I gotta say, that's a very good question. But, I think my current skill set would put me in one direction versus the other. In other words, and I think my obsession with would lead me towards the WWE.
Yeah.
Because as much as I would love to be a part of to say, that's my music, I wrote that for this amazing show. Mm-hmm. The music, which I believe was written by Silvestri, right?
For the new one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no Alan Silvestri, and I don't really know how to orchestrate that well and kind of the type of music that was written for that show. However, bitchin' heavy metal of people walking down to the ring, that I can do. And as much as I am obsessed with science and skepticism, I must say I am more obsessed with wrestling. So I could not possibly give up that opportunity to write for the WWE. The same person who's written the music for the WWE back in like the 80s and early 90s is still writing for them today. They've only had one guy.
Wow.
Jim Johnston is his name. Now, granted, they've had other people come in and write songs for certain wrestlers, blah, 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 but the main music composed for WWE is still that one guy.
Cool.
Laura, who would you rather have as a secret admirer? Dr. Oz or David Avocado Wolf?
Oh, I feel dirty. They're so terrible.
Well, we know that Dr. Oz is handsy.
Oh, it's so creepy. Oh God, it's so gross. Oh, well, but David Avocado. Oh.
I don't know who that guy is. Person. I don't know who that person is.
Yeah,
you said
never-
avocado. I don't know if somebody could be named avocado.
I don't know that is a given name. My guess is that it is a
Is a taken name?
adopted name. Anyway, he posts. The one thing that he does do is a lot of the stuff that he posts on Facebook is very like feel good, inspirational kind of stuff. Like, enjoy this moment and take care of each other and
So
stuff
you want
like
him
that.
to make you feel good.
I don't want. No, I'm just saying if I have to have a creeper, then I think maybe him, because Dr. Oz is oh god. Yeah, no, it would have to be him. Yeah, David Avocado Wolf. Dr. Oz is just the worst in every possible way.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, if you were trapped in the 12th century, what one thing would you bring with you?
Mind blown.
Penicillin.
I guess, yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'm just trying to think of, like, sterilizing tablets for water?
No, if she brings penicillin back, then by the time it gets to our
Yeah,
age,
that's
then
what I
was
the
thinking
super bugs will
earlier.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I'm thinking,
Right, it's our
like,
Hail Mary.
yeah, there's, like, I would bring a water filtration system that does not rely on power.
Woo!
That is what I would bring. Filters, where you can
Yeah.
just literally, like, filter all the
charcoal
guinea
filter.
worm out, Or,
Yeah.
like the charcoal
A
filter.
Brita.
Or the little tablets.
Yeah, exactly. I would bring some kind of non-powered water filtration system.
That's a good idea. Finally, if you could ban one nutritional fad so you never had to hear about it again, what would it be?
Oh, God, there's too many. You gotta prep me for
No,
these questions.
Only one. You're only allowed
Only
to ban
one?
The others will just get stronger.
Detox. Detox. I hate that so much. It means absolutely zero. Detox by far. I never ever want to hear about that again. Because really, a lot of the other fads tend to include that as part of it, as either a selling feature or because nobody's can come up with new ideas. So if you get rid of detox, then you get rid of a lot of the other crap that's out there too.
Hey, I've got a great thing to detox you. It's called your liver.
And your kidneys! Woo!
So I hear that Ashlyn has some questions for me, too.
I do, and I have edited them to sort of fit in with the other questions better.
Sorry.
First of all, who is your scientist beard hero?
Oh, man, it's hard to beat Darwin. I mean, that guy had a pretty great beard. There have also been some pretty great, like, non-beard facial hairs.
Are you Googling scientist beards right now?
No. I was pulling up a picture of Thomas Henry Huxley. He doesn't have a beard,
sure.
but those droopy dog sideburns are pretty amazing. So, Darwin for the beard, but Darwin's bulldog for the burns.
Gotcha.
Man, that is a t-shirt if I ever saw it. Someone make this man a t-shirt that says exactly that.
With just
Done.
like the beard, like the Tom Mulcair beard silhouette that's going around right now. We'll do that, but with the Darwin beard on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
If we took the podcast to television, what network would we be on, and how would we have to change the show to fit?
The History Channel, and there would have to be way more aliens. We'd have to tell both sides, by
Yeah.
which I mean the alien side and the underworld lizard men side.
Those are the only two sides.
Yeah, like, if we honestly did it, I think, like, a CBC or a PBS would be, like, we could actually make the show work. It would have to be a little terser. We would have to cut one of our panelists, me, because I talk way too much.
You can be the behind-the-scenes producer.
Yeah. And we could have musical guests, like Ian or Fred Penner.
Yes.
Wow. Mentioned in the same breath as Fred Penner. I will take that compliment, sir.
Next question. What Star Trek character would you most like to interview on our podcast? Star Trek character, not actor.
Okay, so not Rene Aubergenois, but probably Odo. Because I really need to know... Odo is the chief of security on Deep Space Nine.
Obviously.
He can change shape, but he can also, like, transform... He seems to have some way of dealing with excess mass that I don't fundamentally understand. Because when he transforms into, like, a tiny little mouse, he doesn't, like, weigh as much as, I don't know, Rene Aubergenois. And when he transforms into a tiny little bird, he can fly around. And I'm like, that bird is so dense! How could you fly? There must be some new physics involved, is what I'm saying. And I want to get to the basis of it.
I want to know how comfy that bucket is to sleep in.
Of all the things, why just a bucket? Why couldn't you find yourself like a nice little...
Didn't he become solid later on in the...
Yeah,
he
he became like fully human at one point, except he still had like his kind of melty face.
That sucks.
But then he became a changeling again later. So we have more questions, and they're for everyone this time. So we're going to get answers from our panel here and answers from our previous hosts as well. So the first question is, if you were given your own TV show about science and critical thinking, who would you choose as your co-host?
I would definitely pick Bob McDonald to be my co-host. Like a lot of Canadians who grew up in the late 80s and only had 2 channels, I loved the show Wonderstruck. Now I listen to his show Quirks and Corks in podcast form, and it amazes me each episode how little I know and how much there still is to discover. I think it's so amazing that somebody with no advanced formal science education could be such an effective science communicator. He shows me that it's okay to ask the questions even if they seem silly, and that being wrong is only a step in the process.
I'm kind of big on like Brian Cox and Lawrence Krauss these days, just because they're in popular media right now, so they're fresh on my mind. But I'd probably want someone who could take me through the journey of scientific exploration, I guess, or discovery, and lend some actual credentials to my show, because I'm not sure people would just believe me if it were me and some other guy or girl.
Well, that one's easy. I'd choose Jem Newman. It'd be the easiest gig around. I'd show up, I'd let Jem talk for the entire hour. All I'd have to do is interject every once in a while that, yeah, right on. You said it, you tell them. It'd be great.
Pendulette.
You don't like Yeah, I also made a face.
Yeah.
Everyone around the
that guy's
fridge
an
table
asshole.
is scowling.
I didn't.
He's such a jackass.
Sure, but that's what makes it entertaining. And Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, because I remember somebody sent me a video because they like, hey, I thought of you, because I'm always, rambling on about science and... and so somebody sent me a video of him, and he's got some snark too. He's a kind of a snarky dude, and it's great. So I think I'd want him on my team because I would also share his snark. So, and plus he's just a brilliant man. I think he's an extremely good presenter and representative of science nowadays. And Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yes.
Those guys would be Bill. Those guys would be my boys. Anyway, sorry.
You?
Aww.
Boo! Better answer.
Ian?
Yes! That is the right answer.
Yay!
Adam Savage. I kind of idolize him, and I would love to do a TV show with him where we didn't blow stuff up all the time. We just talked about it, because he's such a compelling person when he talks about science.
Yeah.
I was just going to say Ashlyn because she knows science and I'm a dummy.
Oh, you're not a dummy.
Better answer.
I love you.
My friend Kevin, who does theoretical physics for fun. And has a better beard than Jem.
Whoa!
Hey, now.
No, it's really bad. It's
That's on
way
tape,
worse
man.
than yours.
I would. I'm kind of torn. on the one hand, I really love Phil Plait. I've got the same. I love Adam Savage too, but I think Phil Plait for me just kind of edges him out, and I'm really kind of sad that his 3-episode series for Discovery.
Yeah,
didn't
it was
get,
a really good series.
Yeah, it was great. I didn't get picked up for more. But I also really love Rebecca Watson too. Like her snark is just so hilarious to me, and there are so many though that I can't even think of. So, what future technology do you wish we'd just hurry up and invent already?
I wish they would just hurry up and invent nuclear fission. Although I tend to wish that they would just hurry up and invent whatever technology I most recently heard about. So if the SGU spoke last week about anti-gravity boots, I'd probably have a different answer.
I would absolutely love, sometimes I just go out and stargaze as kind of a hobby. And I really, really wish I could just be in orbit of one of those stars or discover a new planet or something. So wormhole technology, interstellar travel, yeah, that kind of stuff. Bring Star Trek to my doorstep.
The portable power pack. A small, energy-dense power pack that could power all those incredible science fiction-y devices. Let's face it, a weapon that blasts a hole through another person is not going to be powered by something handheld with today's technology. A hoverboard is not going to be powered by something with today's technology, or at least won't get you very far. An Iron Man suit will not be powered by today's technology, not without an extension cord leading back to the wall. Or even a Terminator. That would be awesome, but it would need a power pack.
Holodeck.
Yeah.
No doubt.
That's kind of scary, though, honestly.
It ain't scary. It's awesome, and you know it.
Yeah, okay.
Probably fusion reactors, so then we wouldn't have to be dealing with fossil fuels and that, and we could just have unlimited energy, and energy wars would stop, and then we could just kind of advance and not be hating each other all the time.
It's probably a better answer than mine.
Yeah, that's all philosophic.
Oh, I like that one. Faster than light travel.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
That'd be
great.
pretty good.
That'd be great.
These answers are
Let's
all
get
better.
this virus called humanity out there and spreading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been too long.
Yeah, well, this is a pretty fragile basket for all these eggs.
Wait, no, time travel. I want time travel more.
Holy no, that's a terrible idea. Way to destroy all of history.
Wait, what about
I know.
paradox-free time travel? Like on Futurama?
Oh, don't be silly.
I do like the line from Hitchhiker's Guide. I don't remember which book it was, but Douglas Adams said that time travel made history truly like another country. They do things exactly the same there.
Yep.
No, but I just want time travel for me. I
Okay.
only want me to be able to go back and find out, whether the Neanderthals ate, whatever their diet was, and how culture developed, and how people first started using tools. I want to know these things so badly.
But I have better specific history questions than you do. I don't want a proxy.
Anyway.
Lauren?
If she takes time travel, which was going to be my my go-to,
I'm sure she'll take you along.
She just said for her only.
Okay, just for our family.
Aww.
Anyway, if you couldn't have time travel.
Teleportation.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to be everywhere.
So are we talking like quantum mechanical teleportation, or are we talking just like you disintegrate one place and a new copy of you is created somewhere else?
A new copy of me is fine.
Yeah, who cares? You don't need continuity
If
of
I could leave
consciousness.
about 5 or 6 pounds behind with every time I go, that's great.
Ooh, that would be a limited amount, though.
But then I could eat anything I want.
You still can. Who cares?
I care. My pants cares. My pants budget cares.
So, for me, Laura kind of stole my answer. Like some sort of cheap, safe, indefinitely sustainable energy source would be great. It's the only thing that I can think of that might break the stranglehold that our terrible I've got mine, Jack economic system has on our world and some of the poorer countries. But more selfishly, especially if we had unlimited energy, I would totally go with matter replication, replicators in Star Trek.
I was thinking that too.
That was my other
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah.
Because
Something about world hunger.
Yeah, exactly. Once you make energy unlimited, that may come with it. But
Yeah.
if you make food unlimited, then
and then I
make
could
resources
I could
unlimited.
eat actual burgers again.
And then you can make ducks unlimited.
That's right.
And then we'd all
Well,
win.
they said it in Watchmen. If we make resources infinite, then war is obsolete. Yeah. Also, the ability to throw your brain back in time into another version of yourself with the current understanding that you have now.
There's a Lovecraftian
Quantum
story
Leap,
about
like
that.
the show Quantum Leap style. Remember
Yes.
the show Quantum Leap?
Yes.
Except you wouldn't be going into other people's bodies week to week. You'd just be going into your own, so you could do all the things you wanted to do with the current knowledge that you have now.
Okay, next question. So, who is the best doctor? The Doctor. Who's the best?
Number 4.
Number 4. Okay. Ian?
I don't watch that show, so I'm going to pick a random number between 1 and 10. 11.
That's also an acceptable answer.
Yeah.
Is it?
Seuss.
Great answer. I don't think it's like a popular answer, but I still have such a soft spot for Tennant. He's so adorable.
Jem.
Well, before I answer, why don't we ask some of our past hosts?
The best doctor is David Tennant, and that's a silly question.
Now, that's a tough one. I mean, most people instinctively are going to say Beverly Crusher, of course, right? It's obviously not Kate Pulaski. I'm going to go off on a limb here and say it's Julian Bashir, because DS9 is my favorite Star Trek. So I guess I'll give my favorite Doctor to my favorite Star Trek. And yes, I know this question was probably about Doctor Who, but I don't really like Doctor Who, so too bad.
I've had to give this some thought, and it's Crusher, Pulaski, and Phlox didn't really do anything memorable for me. Bashir I found to be a real pompous ninny. And the emergency medical hologram, oh my goodness, he is just a whiny, annoying creature. So I'd have to give my vote to Bones McCoy.
Well, for me, I have to go with Robert Picardo. I mean, like, if I had to answer
You're
the
a
question
jerk.
in the spirit in which it is asked, by rights I should say Tom Baker, because,
Thank
you.
you.
He's the Doctor that I remember most fondly from childhood reruns. But I think it's pretty clear from the other answers that we have quite a few Trekkies as well. Maybe more Trekkies than Whovians on the show. So if I'm being honest, it has to be Robert Picardo.
Should we get into a Whovian discussion?
No. I'm woefully out of date.
Don't you
I haven't
guys
want to
go home tonight?
Yes.
What is your favorite episode of our podcast?
My favorite episode that I was on was organic agriculture. Mark and I disagreed on a few things, and there's nothing I love more than a good argument. But my favorite episode overall may be coffee and tea. And I say that as somebody who drinks neither coffee or tea. I also have a love of any podcast where Laura goes on a rant about something, especially if it's about Dr. Oz. So I'd probably listen to the Deepak Chopra and Dr. Oz episode the most.
As far as favorites on the podcast, one of the ones that was just like absolutely gut-bustingly fun to record and just amazing, it was like 5 hours of just constant laughter, was the Zombies Part 1 and 2, like trying to keep a straight face and give a scientific breakdown of the zombie apocalypse. Yeah, that was like one of the best afternoons I think I've ever had recording a show. As far as the more serious topics, recently one was really good that had me kind of talking along with the hosts. The show on labels, and another one on around Christmas about privilege. That was quite solid, so I enjoyed those.
I'd have to say that was when we went down to Skepticon 5 as a group. It was nice getting to know everyone on the trip down and on the trip back. Yeah, we got to interview people, which is something I wouldn't have done by myself necessarily. And it was just, like again, great camaraderie. I really enjoyed making that podcast.
The one that we did about the creature that creates itself in the mind of the... What was the...
Oh, the Thought Experiments show.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Because that's the one that really...
Yeah,
the one that
Rocco's Basilisk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's exactly, yes. Because that's the one that after... Well, first of all, I think that was probably even the first one I was on. First or second, it's very early.
It's the first one that you were on as a regular panelist. Because
Yes.
you've been on our creationism show way
That's
back
true,
in the day.
yes.
And-
It was the first one that we did when we all got back together to record
That's
everything.
true, too.
Yeah.
So that holds a special place, too. But I think the subject matter was one of the only ones where, like, afterwards I was, like, thinking
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah.
like, what was I a part of? Did I just create something that's going to destroy the world?
Yeah, I wasn't
It
on
stuck
that,
with
yeah.
me for a while.
I wasn't
so-
on that show. I was sitting upstairs in our craft room listening
Rocking
to
back and forth.
listening to Laura's head explode.
Oh God,
And that
show
was
made me
entertaining, no
so
offense.
mad. Oh God, I just did not want to be talking about it
And we
anymore.
talked about it the whole way home, too.
I know.
That was
God.
You're still
that was a good
talking
one.
about it.
I like that one. That was very good.
My favorite is, I guess not a show, but the ones where we watch a movie and then critique it. Because
Yeah.
those ones are always so much fun.
Yeah.
And also we don't need to do any prepreparation.
We should do another one of those.
Yeah, and it's really fun to just watch the movie all together and get really mad about it and then sit down and record.
Yep. I have a hard time remembering all of the ones that we've talked about.
The hoax one we did recently I thought was also good.
The moon hoax?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that was good.
I'm trying to think of some of the older ones that we used to do, like, over Google Plus.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there were some good ones. The Christmas one. The one of
Yeah.
the
The
many.
The Christmas
You
ones
know
are
what? The
always
Christmas
fun.
ones are really fun.
Yeah, those are
I
fun.
like the ones that are just really
one-
fun.
Yeah, the one that I won the Christmas trivia.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You became El Kegenier, I think, or something? Or was that a different year?
No, that was that
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
I called
yeah.
it that existed.
Yes.
Yeah, and I won this past year because
Did
you
you?
weren't on the show.
For myself, I think some of the ones that we've done really well, the organic agriculture, I think was a really, really well done episode. It was just one, right?
It was a two-parter.
Or it was a two-parter. In any case, I remember it just being really well done and really excellent research on everybody's part, and that was awesome. It's really hard when you're on all of them and then you don't listen to them afterwards as much because I was on it and I also generally hear it about 20 times as Jem is editing it, so I do hear
in
it
the
just
most
not...
annoying way possible.
Yeah,
as I
exactly.
replay the same 10 seconds over and over again to cut them out.
But I'm going to second Ashlyn's mentions of the ones where we all get together and we chat about something. And so in that vein, the one when we went to Skepticon as well, and we all
yeah.
just hung out in one of our hotel rooms and chatted about the day that we'd had was
Yeah.
a really fun experience.
Probably some of the worst episode quality we had.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, for a cell phone in a hotel room,
Yeah, it worked pretty
it's
good.
okay. It was really fun, and it was really neat because there was a big group of us, and we didn't all know each other super well yet, and it was a really nice bonding thing. So that was fun.
The ones where I was first starting out, where we had our all-lady panelist for the makeup stuff and those were
Yeah,
fun.
those were really
cosmetics
fun.
one.
Yeah. I really like, as we're talking about, and I was reminded, the nutritional supplements one that we
Yes.
did.
Yeah.
Just because I liked everybody's topics, but the thing that I talked about, the natural
did.
egg membrane, was hilarious. And
Yes,
I had
it was.
so much fun researching this, going, I can't believe this is a thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a while when we were doing the Google Hangouts, it was Laura and I doing
Yeah.
the regular rotation.
It was good.
Oh man, there's been some good episodes.
It's hard to compete with episode 88, the Thought Experiments episode,
It was a really good show.
but I also really loved our movie review episodes. Episode 90, Resonance Beings of Frequency, as Ian
That was a
mentioned,
good one,
was
yeah.
really fun. I also like any episode where we get to have a fun quiz show.
Yes.
And the History of the War on Christmas, episode 72, again, that Ian mentioned. Ian's stealing all my favorites. But I do really like the Historicity of Jesus episode, because I think Greg did a great job putting that all together. And our recent show on determinism and free will is a favorite of mine, because that's just a hobby horse that I have. And I'm really proud of these last few episodes that we did on criminal justice.
When
But-
we did our research.
Yeah, you know, like, we put on a pretty good show, guys.
We do.
Yeah, I'm proud of it.
Toot.
So, second last question. What is the one topic you'd like to see us cover on a future episode?
The topic I would most like to see covered is poverty. I think that many don't understand the issues behind poverty in Canada. People who would never make fun of somebody who dresses like they're a girl or gay or have developmental problems do make fun of the way that poor people dress. And I hear too often that the government should cut funding to things in rural areas or the north and spend more money in the cities. And when we talk about education, it seems to only involve university getting cheaper, not about how there are still communities with no access to free grade 9 education. I've heard comments that going into a trade is for dumb or lazy people, and I've had conversations with people where they felt shame because they didn't go to university or shop at the fancy places or couldn't afford a cell phone or they got their internet from the library.
Probably, I'd have to say the placebo effect. There's a lot of myths and mystery surrounding it. For so long, science has been driven to exclude the placebo effect from experiments, designing experiments to get rid of it. But it's only been recently that we've started exploring what it actually is. Like, for instance, people with Alzheimer's aren't as affected by it. It can be great at mitigating subjective problems like pain and comfort issues. And people quite often use it in the wrong sense. You know, they say, oh, well, that isn't placebo, this actually works. Well, the thing is, placebo sometimes actually works. We're just starting to figure out its limits. You know, so if we do find out its limits, is it ethical to use a placebo as a prescription, as they do in Germany? And what are the issues surrounding that? That would be a very interesting episode. And I think it's one that's due.
One topic I'd like to see. You know, I don't know. Surprise me.
Ashlyn and I keep talking about doing a drinking game where we just live blog watching episodes of Ancient Aliens while drinking. And we keep threatening to just foist it on all y'all, but...
I think that'd be a good episode.
Yeah, anytime that something
regular-
ridiculous
yeah.
is said, you got to drink.
You can record a couple of those and we'll just make it a recurring segment.
That's what we were thinking.
Idea in the beginning, but we couldn't figure out how to make it work with recording it and also being able to hear the actual show and not talking over each other. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I'm always down with the religious angles because I think they're very informative, and I think that for people to be more into science and into thinking skeptically, they have to close the door of their closed-mindedness when it comes to a lot of religious thought. That might be overgeneralizing, but it seems to me like if you're sort of like, well, this is how the world works because that's what the book says, you're probably not open to the other ways of thinking. So I think that if we can close that door first, then we can open the doors to more people thinking about science. Therefore, more shows
critiquing
that way of thinking. Scientology? Did we do one on Scientology?
No, we kept talking about that because that's one of my pet pokes.
Yeah, or Mormonism or one of those, like, those, that would be cool. I mean, it's been done to death, but...
You're just going down the list of South Park.
My point exactly. They've already been done 1,000 times, so it's sort of tough. But that would be my answer.
I can't think of a specific topic offhand, but you know me, I'm always loving talking about food and nutrition, and there's never a dearth of topics in nutrition pseudoscience to talk about. So anything that has to do with that, whether it's the latest fad or the latest supplement or something, I really like that. Also, when we do things like commonly held beliefs, like the one that we did talk about already, I like that show, and I think that there's lots of those kinds of things out there because there's so many things that even on a daily basis I go, oh, well, this is this because of this. Is it? Really? I heard this once, and I don't know where I heard it, and why do I think this? So I'm sure we can come up with lots of topics, and I like that too because it's something that a lot of people can relate to. You know, like not everybody is a big science fan or a science nerd. They appreciate it, but they don't follow actively, or you know, they don't follow the religious part of it actively. But you know, most of us have, oh well, expiration dates mean this. You know, we have that kind of idea in our head, and so there's lots of those things in our daily lives that, again, we just don't ever question, but critical thinking can be applied to big questions and also just the small things and how we go about our day in life. And so I like those kinds of things.
It would be a little more work than the movie reviews, but I think a book review would be fun if we all read a book and took notes on it and then came back and recorded about it. I think that would be fun. I'm sure there's a lot of very, very bananas books out there that we could read.
Probably that are very, very thin and in very bold print.
If anyone wants to suggest a book for us to read, Brendan, that would be great.
Also, Star Trek versus Star Wars. That'd be a good topic to talk about.
Jem's face just fell into his
science
chest.
Or what?
No, just how awesome those things are and which one's better.
To piggyback on what Laura was saying, I think a show on basic critical thinking might be pretty cool. There's a lot of people out there who were not taught how to think critically.
Yeah.
So just a basic primer on critical thinking.
We haven't done that?
I think we did a little bit more towards the beginning of the show, but we could definitely revisit it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And
Seems
yeah,
like the thing to do.
Basic and not having to apply it to like a high level sort of, oh, well, if you're doing a research thing, because, well, not everybody is, right? And just,
Interesting.
If you're reading the thing in the grocery store, the label on the back of the box of cereal, how do you critically think about that?
Or just what's printed on the front of the box of cereal.
Trans fats!
Yeah, exactly. You know, oh man, I could just talk about nutrition forever.
You have a blog for that, don't you?
I do. If anybody wants to read my nutrition ramblings and rantings, I'm at dietitianathome.wordpress.com.
Woo!
Awesome.
Jem, what do you want to talk about in the future?
So, for
Star
me...
Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek. I also think it's important to talk about some of the, like, racist pseudosciences, some of the pseudoscientists that have, like, really negative impacts on, like, society. Like, there's this whole human biodiversity movement.
I have a book on that.
Oh, boy.
It's awful.
It is something terrible.
I'm sorry, Jem, I apologize. I'm not familiar with that. Could you very briefly explain what that means?
So human biodiversity is kind of a dog whistle word. Biodiversity is like this sort of general idea that different organisms have different traits, okay? And some organisms may fare better in some environments than others because of their difference in traits. Human biodiversity is basically saying black people are good for some things, white people are good for other things.
It's
Asians
eugenics.
are good for other. You know, it is just a repackaging of old eugenic ideas and racist ideologies, given the trappings of science. I'd also like to talk about conflicts or perceived conflicts between science and philosophy, which usually amounts to famous scientists smack-talking philosophers.
So basically you just want a show where you talk into the microphone and we laugh at you for an hour.
Oh, I don't want that show, though. Okay, let's move on. Last question. What is your favorite podcast other than this one?
I think if I were stuck on a desert island and can only bring one episode of one podcast, I would pick Logically Critical's Wacky Bible Stories. So good. But the podcast I usually can't wait until Monday to listen to is The Reality Check. Great podcast.
My favorite podcast, hands down, Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, with an honorable mention to Common Sense by Dan Carlin. The guy is like an absolute amazing podcaster, and his passion for history really comes through. And I wouldn't have really ever considered myself to be a history buff, as it were. But this guy, I wish he was my high school history teacher. Like, honestly, he can take a story and contextualize it and make you feel, a part of it, and make people from, recent history to ancient history seem just a little bit more relatable. Strongly advise checking it out. Each podcast is about 4 hours, though, depending on how heavy the topic is. But it's well worth your time.
Well, as Ashlyn found out on our way down to Skepticon 5, I don't really listen to too much else. I'm more of a reader, so I'd have to say, out of the blogs that I read, the Skeptic Dailies, that's the one thing I always like reading, because it's a bunch of articles that just cover so many different topics, and you learn a lot from going through them. But as for other podcasts, I don't really listen to them.
Welcome to Night Vale.
Oh, God, that's a good show. I love that show so much.
I love surrealism. All hail the glow cloud.
I get what you guys... I see what you guys see in it, but I can't like it. It's just annoying.
Ashlyn doesn't like it either.
Are you going to the live show when it comes to Winnipeg
really
in
hope
October?
to, yeah.
Yeah, tickets are on sale now.
I know,
think, so.
they're almost out.
Brendan and I are going.
Unsurprisingly. And I'm not even going to push my own podcast.
Oh, no?
Oh!
No, I won't.
Yeah. Well, mention your podcast.
Okay,
get it over with.
All right, I'll mention my damn podcast. The Fall Away Slam podcast, which of course talks about professional wrestling. But also, unsurprisingly, Chris Jericho, who's also a wrestler from Winnipeg, I might add, has a podcast called Talk is Jericho, which I very much enjoy. It's the only podcast that I'll go back to episodes I've already listened to and listen to them again because they're so damn entertaining. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be completely honest, I don't listen to any other podcasts other than ones that are related to wrestling or this one. So, but all the other podcasts that I listen to are also related to wrestling. And I will give one shout out to a local podcast that's also on the UMFM here in town.
Oh, yeah.
Loose Ropes Wrestling. So if you are into wrestling and you have already listened to all of mine because they're so awesome, check out Loose Ropes Wrestling. They're also very good.
Did they choose that name to be the most difficult thing to say multiple times?
Loose Ropes Wrestling. Loose Ropes Wrestling. I don't know. Maybe. But mine is easy to remember and easy to say. Fall Away Slam.
Woo.
Fall Away Slam. Fall Away Slam. It's easy.
Very nice.
I'll just have that
What's the
looping
name
in the
of it?
background.
Fall Away Slam.
Not so subliminal message.
My favorite go-to podcast right now is probably Sawbones, which is part of the Maximum Fun Network. I really enjoy it because it's all health and nutrition related stuff, and so that's my favorite kind of stuff, and it's enjoyable to listen to, and sometimes the little baby is on it and it's kind of cute when she coos and goes like ah, because I can relate.
But you have Jim.
I have Jim. Also, I remember trying to record a podcast with a screaming Kira around, and that was no fun. But yeah, I really like that one. It's nice short episodes, and it's interesting, and generally they do a really good job of being skeptical, and I like the history aspect of it. That's a fun part. One that I haven't listened to for a really long time, but I really did enjoy it, was Stuff You Missed in History Class.
Yes.
That, I learned so much. I've forgotten it all now, but I listened to that for hours, and I was just entranced because, like, I've heard these names, and I never knew what these people were, and oh my gosh, now I know. So I really like that one as well.
My favorite podcast tends to vary by how many episodes I can download and listen to in a row. So I've worked my way through the catalog of most of my favorites. But the current one that I'm kind of obsessed with is one that I never would have expected. It is an economics podcast, which sounds horrifyingly boring, to me anyway. But it's Planet Money from NPR. And
amazing.
They take random things that you would expect to be so boring, like the titles of these things put me to sleep, but then they start talking and they tell this super compelling story about how this little piece of our everyday life fits into the economy and how it, the fluctuations over time do all these bizarre things to culture, and it's so fascinating and I love it.
Cool.
For me, my current favorite is Dear Hank and John, because I find the Green Brothers delightful. It is the darkest timeline of comedy podcasts.
God, you're a nerd.
It is the podcast that they shelved under comedy because that meant that they didn't have to pick a subcategory. It gets pretty existential sometimes, but man, I love those dudes. I also really enjoy Radio versus the Martians. It's a lot of fun. Panel discussions of sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture icons and tropes. Kind of organized loosely like this show. So, I think that's the end of our show.
Woo!
Thank you all for giving us 100 episodes.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the questions. The question period. That was fun.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the hell was coming my way, and it was good.
I was a little nervous, yeah.
It was good.
I think Jem needs a special shout out here. So when we started the podcast, he was very, very explicit about how this would not be his problem. And he was not going to put any more work into it. And if we wanted to have a podcast, we could go for it. But it was, not going to take up his life.
Yeah.
I remember that post.
Yeah. And then...
I was just going to be a panelist.
Yeah. And then Robert moved
Occasionally.
away. And Greg took over. And then Greg moved away, and I didn't say no hard enough, so I got told that I was the executive producer now. But through it all, Jem has done most of the work.
Absolutely.
And
True.
all of the web stuff, and basically made sure that we had a show when no one could get it together.
Jim
And we
posts
would
my
not have,
podcasts.
yeah, we would not at all have a podcast
No.
that lasted 100 episodes without
No,
him.
not at all. Thank you,
Let's
Jem.
all
Thanks,
clap
Jem.
quietly, because we don't want to overload the mics.
That's the saddest sounding clap.
We'll fix it in post.
So,
Jem will fix it in post.
Jim, fix it in post.
I'm editing this episode.
so twinned with that, thank you, Laura.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Laura.
Yay!
Golf clap.
Yay!
Well, thank you all. I couldn't do it without you. And I guess until next month.
Here's to 100 more!
Here's to some number more!
Cheers!
You've been listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. If you have any questions or comments, or you'd like to suggest a topic for the show, send us an email at lueepodcast@winnipegskeptics.com. If you want to show your support, give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or just share the show with a friend. Our music is produced by the very talented Ian James, and this episode was edited by Jem Newman.
Happy 100th.
Happy
Happy
100.
100.
Happy 100.
Yay. Thank you. That is some, well, it's definitely made of honey, that's for sure.
I do not drink alcohol typically, so we'll see how this goes.
Okay.
See, it's very good, and the problem is that you can just keep drinking
It's
it.
really smooth, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm really drunk.
Greg Penner's kind of a dick.
I'm not hitting on your husband, trust me.
Well, that's fine. If you can make your
Well,
way through
then
that
screw
beard,
it.
have at her.
Now to science.
Buried in hummus-rich earth.
Hummus?
Hummus.
I guess I pronounce it the same as the hummus you eat.
To you, they both taste the same.
Yeah, basically.
Hey, hummus is delicious.
Any domesticated animal.
But you could use, say, a cat.
Yeah, sure.
Laura, I found a use for our cat.
I hate you.
I am taking your cat away from you.
We're gonna have to put our cat down tomorrow.
I feel really bad about saying that now.
Down. Make sure everybody was real sad before we carried on to another.
There's some things that just vaguely say, oh, it'll increase sexual feelings and urges.
It would
That's
have to be
just
a
a
really
thing.
big
Yeah,
pyramid.
Oh, I was thinking a very narrow, tall pyramid.
No, that would be an obelisk.
But triangular pyramids are the best pyramids.
No, you are categorically
what measure?
wrong.
By the measure of symmetry.
Grayskull.
The most important measure of all.
It's because if you turn a square-based one into a die, it doesn't roll as well as a triangular-based
Yeah,
one.
well, it's not a fair die, you know? Like, your
Anyway,
D5
can
is
I finish
useless.
my topic, please?
Yeah.
But let me get back to this die thing. Take my ions, bitch. I said absolutely because I have to do zero research for it because I already know it all.
It will be super sad if Sir Paul McCartney dies before this episode goes out.
That would be very. That would. Oh God. I don't even want to say it anymore. Actually, we should cut this whole thing. I don't really want to talk about it, but I will.
I'm sorry. I was trying to have fun. I'll go back to drinking my metheglin.
I hope you enjoy.
Interesting fact, both Hitler and Charles Manson believed in a hollow earth theory.
That's shows what kind of men they are.
Yeah.
Awesome
There you
men.
go.
Wait, awesome men?
Sorry,
Cut that.
was supposed to. Yeah, that was supposed to be more sarcastic than it came out.
How much of the mead have you drunk?
I don't know. You are sitting on the side of the table of the axis of Lauren. So
Oh,
Okay.
This is going weird places. This podcast. Holy shit.
you, me, and Mussolini, baby.
Nope.
Does that make you Hirohito?
No. Well,
Okay.
we're getting warmer. At least my ancestors' part of the world. Anyway, let's carry on to a different subject, shall we?
Yeah.
Yay!
The Farscape universe. Jeez. Can I get copies of these when we're done?
Leslie has a nice voice, Ian. Yes, you're right.
That's not what I said, Jim. Just let me copy those when we're done, okay? That's all.
If you could ban one word or phrase from the internet, what would you ban?
Oh,
You have to pick just one.
I know. Scientists baffled.
That's
Yeah,
pretty good.
scientists baffled by blank. Not allowed anymore. No more bafflement.
Yeah.
He's not like a huge dick. He's just kind of, he's got a bit of a air of like, yeah, I'm Fred Penner kind of to him, you know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be fun. I think that's getting cut.
We're getting the E rating.
I'm sure she'll take you along.
She just said for her only.
Okay, just for
spirit.
our family.
Aw.
You guys are poly. You'll marry me, right? I want in on this time travel thing.
I like you, Jem, but I don't know if I like you that much.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your
fair
beard
enough.
is not quite as magnificent as needs to be a male member of our clan.
Get growing.
I'm working on it.
Anyway, if you couldn't have time travel.
The Doctor. Who's the best?
The best doctor. That guy downtown at the Health Science Center? But then when you said the doctor, it's like, oh, okay. The doctor.
Because I think everybody else at the table just got that instinctively.
But he comes into my store every now and again, and he just kind of has that, like, don't you know who I am? Because, well, and I think because, especially people our age who, like, you know, grew up with him, and it's like, you know, I think he thinks, like, he has dominion over all of us. Which I would do his bidding if he asked.
So he does.
He does, but he doesn't have to act like he does.
This is going to take a lot of editing.